There is a quiet power in the person who does not flinch, who does not rush to defend, who is not stirred by the petness of others. We live in a world overflowing with provocation, people eager to offend, compete, disrupt, and diminish. They disguise insecurity as dominance, mask weakness with noise, and play emotional games to draw you into theirs. But the person who remains calm while others flail, this person owns the room. To never feel angry or bothered, you must understand one simple truth: control is never out there, is not in their words, their tone, their actions, or their disrespect. Control lives inside you quietly, firmly, like a spine made of iron. Those who have not discovered this truth live in reaction. They dance to other people's moves. They are slaves to emotion, walking triggers, always waiting to be pushed. Anger is not strength. It is a confession that someone touched something you have not mastered. A person can only make you angry if they've found your pressure point. So if you want to be untouchable, your first mission is to remove the pressure points. Begin by expecting nothing from anyone. Not kindness, not fairness, not understanding, not even logic. Assume that people will act out of self-interest, insecurity, pride, fear, or ignorance. And when they do, you are not surprised, you are prepared. Predictable behavior cannot provoke you. It becomes background noise, something expected, even useful. Study how people move emotionally. The angry ones want a reaction. The disrespectful ones crave attention. The arrogant need a validation. Once you decode them, they lose power. They no longer touch your emotions, they reveal their own. The mistake is to respond the moment you react, argue, explain, defend. You enter their arena, and in their arena, they set the rules. You lose, even if you win the argument, because the real loss was your composure. Learn instead the power of detachment. Detachment is not coldness, it is clarity. When someone offends you, don't absorb it, observe it. Their words are not about you, they are a mirror of them. Offense is a signal, not a scar. Treat it as information. What are they trying to provoke? Why now? What does this tell me about them? The person who cannot be provoked is dangerous, not because they're violent, but because they are unmoved, emotionally inaccessible, and the world cannot touch what it cannot reach. Refuse to let people pull you into their chaos. When they raise their voice, lower yours. When they insult, stay still. Your stillness will drive them mad, because people want access. Deny it with poise. Silence is not just the absence of noise, it is the presence of power. It creates discomfort for those who expect reaction. It throws off those who rely on drama. Your silence becomes a wall they cannot scale, a mirror they must face. Understand this: your peace is a currency. Don't spend it on anyone who hasn't earned it. Not every comment deserves a reply. Not every slight requires justice. Some things are better left beneath you. Your goal is not to win arguments. It is to transcend them. You are not here to participate in every battle. You are here to become so centered, so composed, that you never need to fight at all. So, the next time someone tries to provoke you, remember this: they only win if you hand them your peace. Let them throw their storm. You remain the mountain, because true power is not loud. It does not flinch. It does not explain itself. It simply is untouchables, silent, and utterly in control. Most people believe that the way to stop feeling angry or bothered is to change the people around them. They think that if others behaved better, spoke kindly, or acted fairly, their peace would be safe. But this is a false and dangerous belief. The idea that your emotions depend on someone else's behavior gives them control over you. If a stranger's rudeness ruins your mood, if a friend's silence stirs your anxiety, or if a colleague's arrogance ignites your temper, then they own a part of you. And anything that owns you can move you at will. This is where most people stay trapped, responding to what others do, say, or fail to give. The truth is that control doesn't live outside you, it lives inside. When you shift your focus away from trying to manage others and instead master your own responses, you take the power back. You stop being a puppet moved by strings you don't hold. You realize that your anger, irritation, or sense of being bothered isn't born from what happened. It's born from how you interpret what happened. It's not the action that causes the reaction. It's the meaning you attach to the action. For example, someone cuts you off in traffic. One person feels rage, another feels nothing, and another might even laugh. Same event, different reactions. Why? Because what we feel is filtered through what we believe. If you believe the world owes you politeness, that people must treat you well, or that you deserve constant fairness, then the world will always fail you. And when it does, you'll feel anger. But if you stop expecting external order and instead create internal order, your peace becomes untouchable. You stop needing others to behave a certain way in order for you to be okay. This is not about being emotionless. It's about being sovereign over your emotions. When you're governed by what people do, you are not free. You live on edge, always needing something or someone to behave in a way that protects your calm. But the moment you decide that your reactions belong to you and no one else, you stop bleeding power. You stop fighting battles that were never yours to begin with. You recognize that other people are unpredictable, often irrational, and usually driven by things that have nothing to do with you. They're projecting fears, hiding wounds, reacting to invisible stories in their heads. You just happen to be nearby. Instead of trying to change them, you change your center of gravity. You stay grounded. No matter how hard someone tries to shake you, this takes discipline. It takes awareness. It takes stepping back in the moment when your emotions want to rush forward. But with time, it becomes natural. You start to notice the gap between trigger and reaction, and in that gap is your power. You can choose how to respond or whether to respond at all. And in that choice, you begin to master yourself. Most people feel bothered because they hold an unrealistic view of human nature. They walk through life expecting logic, fairness, emotional intelligence, and maturity from everyone they meet. And every time someone fails to meet this imagined standard, they feel shocked, offended, or disturbed. But this reaction stems from a misunderstanding. Human nature is not built on logic, it's built on emotion. It's not driven by fairness. It's driven by need, desire, fear, and ego. The more you understand this, the less surprised you'll be when people act selfishly, speak thoughtlessly, or behave in ways that lack awareness. When you anticipate human nature as it actually is, not as you wish it to be, you stop feeling personally attacked when people reveal their flaws. Instead, you begin to see patterns. The insecure person will often talk over others to prove they matter. The jealous one will subtly undermine those they envy. The emotionally immature will deflect blame, avoid responsibility, or lash out when challenged. None of these are mysteries. They are predictable behaviors that appear again and again, especially under pressure. What used to feel like betrayal or disrespect now simply looks like a display of conditioning. You stop taking it personally. You start reading it like a map. Understanding the nature of people is not about becoming cynical. It's about becoming clear. You are no longer a prisoner of hope that others will treat you the way you treat them. You no longer expect emotional reciprocity from those who have not done the work to even know their own emotions. You recognize that many people are reacting to wounds you can't see, driven by fears they will never admit, and stuck in cycles they don't even understand. When you see that clearly, their behavior becomes less about you and more about them. And when it's about them, it loses its grip on your peace. People lie to protect their image. They manipulate to get what they want. They blame to avoid shame. These are not insults. They are facts. When you expect these behaviors from the people who haven't grown past them, their appearance won't destabilize you. You'll meet them with quiet observation, not reactive anger. You'll predict the next move before it happens. And when it happens, it will confirm your understanding rather than violate your expectations. There is strength in knowing what to expect, not from a place of judgment, but from realism. Most people live unaware of their own patterns. They project their discomfort outward, and if you're close enough, you'll catch the debris. But if you've trained your mind to expect this, you don't absorb it. You allow it to pass by like a storm you saw coming miles away. You prepared for it. You braced yourself. You didn't expect sunshine. So when the clouds came, you didn't complain. You simply waited them out. And that anticipation, that realism, becomes your armor. It shields you from confusion. And with confusion gone, your peace remains intact. Anger is often mistaken for power, but in reality, it's a signal that you've surrendered control. The moment someone provokes you and you respond with anger, frustration, or emotional outburst, you have unknowingly handed over your internal command. You've given them access to something sacred, your reaction, and in doing so, you've become predictable. Predictability makes you weak in any psychological game. If someone knows they can push you and you'll flinch, they will do it again and again. Not because they are always malicious, but because they now know where your levers are. Emotion, especially anger, is a tool. The wisest people never allow that tool to fall into someone else's hands. When your emotions are yours and yours alone, you become unreadable. and unreadable people cannot be controlled. They are not thrown off by insults, not baited by manipulation, and not pulled into emotional traps. This is not about suppressing your feelings. It's about refining them. Emotions left unmanaged are liabilities. Emotions, when mastered, are weapons. Imagine someone insults you in front of others. If you immediately lash out, you reveal several things at once: that the insult hit a nerve, that you care what they think, and that you are reactive. You've given away valuable data. But if you remain calm, poised, even slightly amused, the script flips. They expected a fire, but they got stillness. In that stillness, they're now exposed. Everyone watches not your breakdown, but their failed attempt to break you. You've turned the situation into a mirror, and now they must confront their own noise without the distraction of your chaos. There is enormous strength in not reacting. It is not the same as passivity. It's control. Every emotional reaction costs you something. It costs you energy, focus, presence, and power. Over time, these costs add up. You become drained not because life is hard, but because you keep giving your emotions away for free. The goal is not to become cold or distant. The goal is to become emotionally disciplined, to know when to speak and when to stay silent, when to express and when to observe. That decision made consciously puts you back in the seat of power. Emotional detachment does not mean disconnection. It means you refuse to be dragged by every impulse. It means you let people show you who they are without needing to fight what they reveal. It means you hold your ground, knowing that storms come and go, but you remain unshaken. People often fear that if they stop reacting, they'll be seen as weak. The opposite is true. The person who can sit in silence while the room burns around them is not weak. They are dangerous because nothing moves them. And if nothing moves you, no one can use you. Your emotions should be tools in your hand, not chains around your neck. Anger should be a choice, not a reflex. The power lies in deciding who gets access when and why. Most people hand over that access to anyone with a loud voice or careless words. But when you reclaim your emotional energy and guard it fiercely, you make yourself untouchable. Detachment is often misunderstood. People think it means not caring, not feeling, or becoming emotionally numb. But true detachment is none of those things. It is clarity. It is the ability to observe people and situations without being consumed by them. It means that you do not allow the behavior, moods, or opinions of others to determine your internal state. Detachment is what gives you power in a world full of emotional chaos. While others are pulled back and forth by the tides of other people's energy, you remain steady, centered, and clear. When you are detached, you don't stop feeling. You stop being ruled by feeling. You stop being baited. You stop giving immediate responses just because someone expects one. You become the person who notices everything but doesn't react to anything unless it serves a purpose. This is not coldness. This is mastery. You observe people's intentions instead of assuming their words. You see their patterns instead of getting caught in their drama. When someone tries to provoke you, you no longer get hooked. You recognize the pull, but you do not go with it. You let it pass through you without landing. The people who cause the most emotional harm are often unaware of what they're doing. They lash out not because you deserve it, but because they don't know how to process their own frustration. They blame because they lack the courage to face themselves. They insult because they feel small. When you are detached, you begin to see this clearly. Their behavior becomes less of a personal attack and more of a transparent display of their inner state. Once you see it for what it is, it loses its sting. Detachment also protects your focus. When you are entangled in emotional reactions, you lose time, energy, and clarity. Your attention is pulled in directions that serve no purpose. But when you detach, you remain in control of your mental space. You decide where your energy goes. You decide what is worth responding to. You do not rush into arguments. You do not feel the need to correct every false perception. You do not engage just because you were invited to. This is not weakness. It is strategic silence. In detachment, you begin to enjoy a new kind of freedom. You stop feeling the need to constantly explain yourself. Stop being disturbed by people's moods, tone, or emotional volatility. You understand that most things are not about you. People act from their conditioning. They behave based on years of programming, trauma, insecurity, or habit. When you realize this, you stop making it personal. You stop needing closure. You stop needing them to understand you. Your peace no longer depends on their approval or behavior. It becomes yours and yours alone. This kind of detachment takes discipline. It requires you to delay your reactions, to breathe in moments of tension, to hold your ground while your emotions want to run. But as you practice it, your strength grows. You start to see that most provocations are tests, not of your temper, but of your control. And when you pass those tests, people begin to treat you differently. They see that you are not easily moved, not easily shaken, not easily disturbed. They adjust or they disappear. Either way, your peace remains untouched. Most people treat offense like a wound. They feel pierced by the words or actions of others and carry that emotional injury around for hours, days, even years. But offense is only a wound if you treat it like one. In reality, it's information. It tells you something, not about your worth, but about the person delivering it. The way people behave toward you says more about them than it ever says about you. Their disrespect reveals their values. Their insults reveal their insecurities. Their judgment reveals their fears. When you begin to process offense as data instead of damage, you unlock a higher form of awareness. Someone speaks harshly to you. The immediate instinct might be to recoil, to take it personally, to let it stir emotion inside you. But take a moment instead. What are they showing you? Is it impatience? A need to dominate? A lack of emotional regulation? These are useful clues. Once you interpret their behavior as a statement about their own internal state, it stops penetrating yours. You become a reader of people instead of a reactor to them, and readers stay calm. Reactors lose control. Think of offense like a mirror. When someone tries to offend you, they're holding up a reflection of themselves. If you allow yourself to absorb that image as truth about you, you've misread the mirror. But if you look at it and understand it as their projection, you remain grounded. You can respond if you choose, or not respond at all. Either way, your internal stability isn't shaken because your value was never on trial, only their behavior was. This shift in perspective changes how you carry yourself in tense situations. Instead of being defensive, you become curious. Instead of trying to correct people's perceptions, you observe what their perceptions reveal. When someone calls you weak, you don't have to explain your strength, you just note that they feel threatened. When someone mocks your choices, you don't have to defend them. You realize they're uncomfortable with your difference. What once felt like a reason to react becomes a reason to study. And this study makes you dangerous, not because you fight, but because you understand. This also helps you avoid unnecessary emotional entanglements. If you let every rude comment enter your inner world, you will constantly be cleaning up after other people's messes. But if you treat offense like data, you simply store the information and move on. You adjust your approach, limit access, or raise your standards, but you do not rage, spiral, or engage in unproductive battles. Because those responses cost you more than the situation is worth. Emotional mastery is not about feeling nothing. It's about knowing what to do with what you feel. And when offense comes, because it will, you meet it not with wounded pride, but with strategic awareness. You step back, decode it, and make your decisions from that clarity. What was meant to provoke you now only informs you. You rise above it, not by ignoring it, but by outgrowing it. Reaction is the easiest path, and that's why most people take it. When someone disrespects them, they argue. When someone insults them, they defend. When someone challenges them, they rush to prove themselves. But every time you react without thought, you become predictable. You follow a script that someone else wrote, and they already know the ending. They say the words, you respond emotionally, and suddenly you are dancing to their tune. This is how manipulation works, not through force, but through control of your reactions. The person who reacts on command is the one who can be controlled with ease. Silence, on the other hand, is the weapon of the powerful. It creates distance, uncertainty, and space. Most people don't understand silence because they fear what it exposes. But that's the point silence reveals. It exposes who needs attention. It exposes who craves validation. It exposes who is trying to provoke and why. And it keeps you above the emotional chaos, unaffected and unreadable. To stay silent is not to back down, it is to step up into a higher form of command. You do not play the game by their rules. You wait. You watch. You move when it's necessary. And only then, when you do not react, you become harder to interpret. People begin to wonder what you're thinking. They become unsure of how you feel. Whether they succeeded in shaking you or not, this uncertainty becomes your protection. Because when people can't read you, they can't control you. They can't find your weaknesses, your pressure points, your emotional triggers. You become a wall they cannot climb, a mirror they cannot break. But silence also serves you internally. Every time you react emotionally, you drain energy. You think you're winning an argument, but you're spending precious resources, your focus, your calm, your power. Silence saves that energy. It keeps your mind clear and your emotions sharp. It gives you room to think before you speak, to assess before you act. And in that space, you choose your moves with precision. You are no longer impulsive, you are intentional. You are no longer dragged, you are deliberate. Staying silent does not mean you accept mistreatment. It means you respond on your own terms, not theirs. You might walk away, you might address it later, or you might decide it's not even worth your time. But whatever you do, it's your choice, not your reaction. This kind of self-possession is rare, and it unsettles people because most are used to being able to stir others with a few words. When they can't stir you, they lose interest or they lose control. Either way, you win. To master your silence is to master your presence. You don't need to explain yourself to be understood. You don't need to respond to be strong. You don't need to speak to make your point. Sometimes the loudest message is the one delivered without words. And those who learn to speak through restraint become impossible to manipulate, provoke, or shake. They become the calm in the storm, and the storm begins to avoid them.